This video will present a typology of some of the multidimensional perspectives among qualitative researchers. Hopefully, this will provide a foundation of understanding so that the reader can sufficiently comprehend and appropriately interpret findings of qualitative research. My name is Denise Waterfield, and I am a PhD student and a nurse specialist. Sometimes when you hear things about epistemology or ontology or a philosophical perspective, it can get a little bit confusing. Let's break it down into the different perspectives. The first perspective is the ontological perspective. One's ontology answers the question, what exists in this world? The first ontology is realism. There are two main aspects of realism, existence and independence. In general, the claims are that any subject matter exists and has properties independent of anyone's beliefs or perceptions. Therefore, the truth can be objectively investigated, analyzed, and studied. The second ontology is relativism, and just as the name suggests, relativists claim that knowledge and experiences are only understood in relation to something else, like language or a cultural or social practice. Although there are many forms of both realism and relativism, for the purposes of this overview, think of them as two ends of a spectrum. We'll build this graph as we go along, but realism and relativism should be visualized on opposite ends of an axis. Now that we have an understanding of what exists in the world, or ontology, now we can find out how one creates knowledge, or epistemology. Epistemology answers the question, what kind of knowledge can be produced? First is objectivism. Objectivism contends that meaning exists within an object and that objective reality exists independent of human consciousness. Reality is external to the knower, and meaning is independent of understanding. Constructivists believe there is no meaning without the mind. Some of the major assumptions are that reality is determined by the knower and a product of the mind. The structure of reality relies on experiences and interpretations, and thought grows out of an experience and builds cognitive models. Subjectivism is a dominant qualitative epistemology. Interpretations of interactions are open to a subjective process by both the participant and the researcher. Truth and reality are expressions of one's subjectivity. Often, meaning is imported from somewhere else, like religious beliefs. Now we can add a second dimension to our graph. The first axis were the ontological perspectives between realism and relativism, and now we can add the three epistemologies to a second dimension. As you can see, people fall on different parts of each range and have variety in their perspectives. The third and final perspective is the theoretical perspective. This perspective is what guides the action or the research and is influenced by both the ontological and epistemological perspectives. Positivists consider one reality to exist that is observable, measurable, and stable. Post-positivism differs from positivism in that knowledge is relative but can still be distinguished. Often, post-positivists are cause and effect oriented and a priori theoretically based. Simply put, reality for a structuralist has fixed structures underneath social and personal appearances. Structuralism looks for these deep hidden structures as well as patterns and relationships. While structuralism identifies the hidden structures, post-structuralism deconstructs the underlying structures to analyze the devices used to create them. Post-structuralism takes into account the importance of the subject, the local environment, and the historical context. Social constructivism is the theoretical perspective that addresses reality as known through multiple mental constructions that are based on experience and socialization, but are also local and specific in nature. The constructed realities change, and in research are created by both the researcher and the participants. Similar to social constructivism, interpretive researchers believe that reality consists of people's subjective experiences of the external world. Interpretivism looks at interpretation instead of construction of reality, and is often less action-oriented than social constructivism. Overall, a critical approach to research focuses on findings or results and is used to change situations. Specifically, critical theory tends to focus on social class. However, other critical studies highlight race, gender, sexual orientation, and colonial relations. Just as critical theory embraces diversity and realities, postmodernism accepts plurality in the world. Postmodernists address multiple truths, and their research is often distrustful of traditional methods. It also does not guarantee definitive conclusions. As you can see, the third dimension is now added to the typology, and you can see the culmination of all three perspectives. The theoretical perspective is influenced by both the ontological and epistemological perspectives. Personally, I find myself to be a critical realist. Critical realism acknowledges an objective approach, but finds value in relativism as offering insights into social contexts. It also takes the middle ground between post-positivism and interpretivism. Thanks for joining me. I hope this video helped you understand the multidimensional qualitative perspectives.